Hello and welcome to AgamidCG. I'm Skylar, and in this video we will be continuing my series on learning how to create a game character from scratch. And we'll be moving on to the rigging phase. If you missed my earlier episodes, feel free to go back and check on the initial phases. Just a quick side note, I noticed that the character was feeling a bit bare and needed some armor, so I went back and modeled some shoulder armor and a chest plate. My shoulder armor is based off of the iconic Filipiniana dress, which has these big shoulder pads that are actually quite simple in shape. I tried throwing some detail into it, but I found that simple and smooth just looked a little bit better. For the chest plate, I wanted to have a little bit more detail, so I added some ribbing on the edges and a cool iconic Filipino style sun crest on the center. Okay, so like I said, in this video we're going to be covering the rigging process. Most people understand what an animator does in essence pretty easily, but in 3D, the animator has nothing to animate without some way of controlling the puppet. So we need to rig the puppet by giving it a skeleton and some controls. Luckily, I have developed my own personal node-based rig builder, so a lot of these steps will be done a lot faster. And another big plus of having a rig builder is that the rig is rebuildable, which means that if I make a mistake, I can easily save my progress, go back into my code and fix what might be causing the problem, and then rebuild it to where I was. The first thing we want to do is lay out the skeleton, which is what we call joint placement, which means placing each joint or bone where it sits in the character or the skeleton. My rig builder allows me to select a section that I would like to build, for example, the leg, and then it provides me with all the joints that I will need. I can then place these joints in the correct areas and continue to the next section. For this skeleton, we will want the obvious feet, legs, spine, arms, hands, neck, and a head, and some prop sections for the sword and scabbards. Next is joint orientation. The joints in my tool are connected to an orientation system through vectors. Essentially, it's using locators that are used to determine the axes the joints act on for rotation and position. This is very important for controlling the way that the body and limbs will move. If I want to raise my arms overhead, I would expect that my arms would both rotate in the opposite direction. Orienting the joints properly will make the controls a lot more predictable in the animation stage. When everything is oriented, we will want to take care of parenting. Parenting is the system of hierarchy the skeleton uses. My tools help with parenting since it's a node-based system. I can connect each section to what I think is the parent section, all stemming from the root or main section. And we can get some help from our good old Delta Rhythm Boys, Dry Bones. Up until the backbone anyways, since the backbone is not parented to the shoulder bone and they exclude arms in this song. Now that we have the joints oriented and parented, all the joints for the sections that we want are in place, and we can build it. The rig is built, and we can see that the skeleton can be moved around. But there's a problem. Why isn't the character moving? Well, that would be because we need to skin it.
Oh, wait.
No. We're not going to take the skin off of the character. We're going to put it on.
Is that leather?
It's confusing, let me explain. Skinning is the process of connecting the joints we place to the character mesh in a way that the joints influence the vertices of the mesh. The mesh being made up of a given number of little points that we call vertices, each have a value that are influenced by the joints. In short, more influences equal more calculations, which means a heavier rig. So to avoid things being really slow, games seem to stick between 4 and 8 influences. And finally, the icing on the cake, the controls. The controls are made of NURBS curves, or at least traditionally. The common way to do this is to take a circle or a curve and form it into the shape that you want, snap it to the joint, and then have that control now drive the joint. Just a friendly reminder that if you enjoy watching my videos, please do hit those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is very much appreciated and it really does help to make the channel grow. We now have a simple biped rig that fits what we need for the character. At least I think so. We can definitely add more, but the rigging process never really ends. It's kind of additive, so we want to test it in a game engine before we add any more things to it and make a priority list of what we think is necessary so we don't spend forever adding things that we will never use or nobody will ever see. From a glance, some of those things might be more robust system for controlling the skirt or a sheath and unsheath system for the swords. Sorry, I know that one was a info dump and I really held a lot of stuff back. The rigging process can get exponentially more complicated. If you'd like me to make a video on my personal rig builder or how to make a rig builder of your own, or even just expand on the rigging process, please do let me know in the comments below. What might have you done differently? Stay tuned for part 4, where we will try to get some textures on this character. It's definitely a weak point for me, so it will be interesting to see how it turns out. That's all I have for this episode. Until next time, thanks for watching.